game on the line. You can't fold and you can't bend. Y'all be playing it safe and I be going for the win. Remember back when they was doubting on the kid. Now they tuned in cause my game too legit.
What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there today. Where I'm mad. I'm not happy today.
Oh, I'm mad.
So it's a perfect day for me to talk about players that are hated in fantasy football. However, this is not a list of players that I hate. No, this is a list of players you hate. Because I've gone through the comment section for the last 6 weeks or so and pulled together some comments of a few players that you guys just seem to not like no matter what is said about these guys. So we're going to talk about a few of them here today. It's going to be fun to go through some of these comments and then try to figure out what's causing the comments. Is it just, they burned you last year, or you think that they suck, but do they really suck? I mean, there's just a lot of things that we can kind of look at and have some fun with. So that's what we're going to be doing here today. Before I get into this list real quick, I got to do a giveaway, right? It's time for another giveaway. We've already given away a Robert Woods jersey, a J.K. Dobbins football, a T. Higgins Clemson jersey, and now this week, a signed Austin Ekeler LA Chargers jersey. Looking forward to giving that away. Here's what you got to do. You got to head over to pristineauction.com, create a free account, and use the promo code Headliners at sign up. It's a free account. You don't have to go buy anything. You don't have to make any purchases. You just have to create the free account and leave a comment below on this video. Help us get to 1,500 likes, and we'll give this jersey away to a member of Headliner Nation, and you ain't got to do nothing else for it. Also, now is the perfect time to head over to manscaped.com and use the promo code Headliners at checkout there as well. 20% off and free shipping. Listen, guys, the summer months may be almost over, but that doesn't mean we let ourselves go. This is not just, this just something to shave my twig and two berries. No, it's not. They have cologne. They have foot deodorant. They have straight razors. They have everything else that you need. Hey, they have a great ear and nose hair trimmer. That thing, the Weed Whacker, is legit, right? So head over to manscaped.com, use the promo code Headliners, all caps, at checkout, and you're going to receive 20% off your order. Listen, we wouldn't be plugging them if we don't use the products ourselves. The stuff is actually really, really good. So head over there as soon as this video is over. But now let's talk about a few players. Oh, we just hate these players. And this list is in no specific order, right? This is just 4 guys, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers that I found a lot of similar comments on in the comment section when scrolling through. So the first one here up on the list is going to be Kansas City Chiefs running back CEH Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Let's pull up some of these comments here, and it says the first one, CEH wasn't going to be good anyways. Hard fade for me. What's funny is I recognize the logo and this commenter. This is like all this person ever comments, so I guarantee you they got burned last year and did not listen to us when we said to avoid CEH. What about the next one? I don't see how anyone could like CEH. Bust-o-matic. Okay. CEH might be too injury prone. That's a new one. CEH is a top 10 pick in 2020. In 2021, CEH is a top 30 pick. 2022, CEH is a top 50 pick. He's a third down running back at the NFL level. Give me J.K. Dobbins, Antonio Gibson, still says Cam Akers, so this is a little bit older, and maybe even Gaskins over him. Okay, I mean, I don't disagree right there with taking J.K. Dobbins potentially, or Antonio Gibson. I'm all on board with taking Antonio Gibson first. J.K. Dobbins and CEH pretty close for me. Cam Akers, obviously, Cam Akers a hard fade for me this year. What about this last one? CEH is a small running back who has already shown to be prone to injury when given a heavy workload. All the opportunities given to him in the red zone fail. Just don't see the love for this guy, to be honest. Well, here's the deal, and we're going to break this down a little bit more, just so people have a little bit more understanding. Some of the most hate that's coming for CEH is because he got burned last year, and a lot of people were overhyping CEH, but do not forget, he had no rookie camp, no mini camp, no training camp, no preseason games. Kansas City never planned on giving him a full workload in 2020, and we tried to tell that to people, but too many people had their blinders on with the running back in the Kansas City offense. Like, I gotta have it, right? And they didn't look at all the overall, situation that was going on. People overhyped CEH way more than he underperformed, if that makes sense. He was 26 points away from the top 12 in 2020, and that's in half PPR scoring. He had 1,100 total yards and 5 touchdowns in 13 games. Now, sure, we want to see more touchdowns, but 1,100 yards and 5 touchdowns as a rookie in a COVID year in which he had no offseason, and we're dogging the guy because now we don't want to spend a pick on him in the 3rd round. So to say, I don't know why anybody could like him or he's a bust-o-matic, compared to what? He could be your running back 3 this year. You don't think he can finish inside the top 36? He did it as a rookie with everything against him. Everything's lining up for CEH to have a pretty good year. Some injury concerns here early, but it seems like he escaped any major injury. He should be good to go for the season. Really looking for him to take a step forward in this offense here this year. And I may not be overhyping CEH, but I'm not completely off the bandwagon whatsoever on him here this year. What about next up? To ruffle some feathers up in here because we're talking about Joe Mixon of the Cincinnati Bengals. So let's pull up a couple comments. I probably could have fit 612 of them on here if I was being honest of how many I could possibly find. First one, it won't be Joe Mixon. I know that much. Thanks for the hard push on him last year. So apparently we're being blamed for him getting injured last year, okay? Joe Mixon, down arrow. Perfect. Never mix in with Mixon. I like the wordplay right there. Dude is not reliable. I can't disagree too much with that, right? The guy has not been reliable at times throughout his career. I'm not knocking that whatsoever. That is a valid argument for that right there as to why you're not going to pass on Mixon. But there's so much more that goes into it. That's kind of baked into his ADP, right? Because he's unreliable, we're getting him at a cheaper price this year. All of a sudden, that price is starting to creep back up. Don't like to see that. I liked where he was at about a month ago. Simple rule for every draft every year is don't draft Joe Mixon. That I don't get. No player is undraftable, except for Devin Funchess every year. A lot of people want to give me crap for Ronald Jones because I always have the hashtag say no to Rojo. However, there was times last year where I had him inside my top 12 running backs throughout the regular season. I can have fun with players' names, but I don't ever let that play into my personal bias, the name bias of a player, to where I just cross them off my board completely. Everybody has a price during your draft. Joe Mixon, no different. Next one, Mixon again, he's bum. I'm guessing he forgot the only player that wants to be subbed. No, he's not. If you ever watch football, which maybe you don't pay close enough attention to, if you ever see a player tap his helmet when he's looking to the sideline, more times than not, that means he wants to be substituted. And that happens all game, every game, from all kinds of players. It doesn't matter what position. It happens. It's part of the game, right? That's why they have the roster sizes that they do, so people can come out and get a drink and go back in. If you haven't had a football helmet on and football pads on before and playing in some of the heat that these guys are playing in, yeah, you get tired really quick. So there's going to be times where they ask to be subbed out. That's not just a Joe Mixon thing. Joe Mixon led the NFL last year in not doing jack. With so many touches, there was one game and then he got hurt. Okay, I understand that. However, you can't solely just blame that on Joe Mixon, and here's how. So I'm going to pull these up right here. So he started slow. Obviously, people wanted huge numbers out of the gate, but Joe Burrow was coming out throwing like 40-plus times a game because they were trailing, and it was ridiculous, right? There's games where he's throwing over 50 times a game. At the time that he left, through 6 weeks, Joe Mixon was running back 9 overall, leading the NFL in touches through the first 6 weeks. He had 10-plus half PPR fantasy points in 3 of the 6 games that he played. Now, the big game argument that we just saw in a comment, I get that, but if that's the case, then make sure you remove week 2 from Aaron Jones when he scored like 40-some points. This happens to, what about Alvin Kamara last week of the season? Let's just remove that game too. You know what I mean? Because big games are going to happen. That is a good thing. That's why you draft players like that, is for potential ceiling games. Not every running back in the NFL has that 40-point ceiling on a weekly basis. Joe Mixon shows that he has it in this offense. That is a good thing, because if he's healthy, which is the reliability, issue we've talked about earlier, we know that we could get multiple games like that throughout the year. Are they going to be weekly? No. Stop overvaluing people like that, because when it happens, it should help carry you to victory that week. It's not going to happen every single year, or every single week. Excuse me. If we go out there and we expect 20 points a week, you're going to be butthurt on a weekly basis. You really are, because not every player is going to score 20 points a week. We base a lot of things over 10 points. 10 points is like what we got to have, right? We want to see those double digits in every slot of our fantasy lineup on a weekly basis. He did it in 50% of the games that he played, and he got hurt after week 6. So it wasn't a bad season for Joe Mixon. We have no idea what the season would have looked like as it, had gone through. After Joe Burrow went down, what would have happened? It's all hypothetical. We don't know. And for that reason, I've seen the ceiling. I know the volume is there. I can't just pass on Mixon. Not something I'm going to reach for, but definitely not someone I'm just going to show a lot of hate for either. All right, on number 3 here, going to a wide receiver, it's going to be DJ Moore of the Carolina Panthers. And this one was kind of surprising. I'm surprised so many people don't like DJ Moore. Now, maybe it goes back to that whole being overvalued more than underperforming type argument, but here's a few comments. I don't want DJ Moore. He is the number 2. Number 2s can't score fantasy points. Calvin Ridley was a number 2 last year. I think he did pretty good. I can't buy that argument too much. DJ Moore, so overrated. I mean, when you see what his ADP is compared to where he's finished over the past couple years, he's not. So if he's overrated, then maybe you're overrating him. I don't get why everyone thinks DJ Moore is suddenly going to go off with a bum quarterback. Rather have Anderson's overpaid. Again, is he a bum quarterback? That's a question I can throw back. He was a bum quarterback under Adam Gase, but so was Ryan Tannehill. And now everybody wants Ryan Tannehill this year. How do we know that the same isn't going to happen with Sam Darnold? Did we expect Teddy Bridgewater to have 3,000-yard receivers? No, we didn't. And he did in this offense, and he's a conservative-style quarterback. Sam Darnold, we really don't know yet. If you're basing his entire career just off of what you saw in New York, it's over. You know what I mean? But we can't, because we've seen multiple players that go on to flourish in their career after Adam Gase. This is an offensive-based team in Carolina. The defense isn't great, so they're going to have to score a lot of points, which means they're going to be throwing a lot. I don't necessarily think Sam Darnold is a bum quarterback as of yet. As for Robbie Anderson, I don't mind Robbie Anderson. He is a little bit cheaper on draft day, and everybody wants to talk about the chemistry between him and Sam Darnold, and sure, it's going to be there, but Robbie Anderson already banged up, and we've already said multiple times in this show, this offense can supply more than one guy. So that doesn't overly worry me. Somebody on Kyle here. DJ Moore, he's trash truck juice when it comes to fantasy football. Double thumbs down. When will you give up on him? Why would we give up on anybody? You shouldn't be giving up on players in fantasy football if you want to continue to win fantasy football. I mean, we're talking about a guy who we'll see some stats here in a second. I like top 20 wide receivers. I don't know about you, but personally, I like top 20 wide receivers. I like to have a lot of them on my team, if at all possible. Trash truck juice, that's a little much. He drafted DJ Moore in the 4th, and I clicked off the video, so I'm pretty sure this is from a mock draft video. If you get butthurt over a mock draft video, I don't know what to tell you, because it's supposed to be what it looks like to try different scenarios. You can't get butthurt over mock draft videos. You just can't. So let's look at DJ Moore here. Of course, the volume went down, right? The volume went down in 2020 compared to 2019. But what went up was his efficiency in a big way, right? He's had back-to-back 1,200-yard seasons, total yards, in that offense that we know is going to be a heavy passing offense. He's finished top 22 in back-to-back years. So, like I said, I like those top 20 wide receivers. Give me those top 20 guys. Now, the Sam Darnold argument, is he improvement? I don't think he's going to be any worse than what we saw from Teddy Bridgewater, and Teddy Bridgewater had a solid season. Is Sam Darnold going to come out and be the NFL MVP? No, but he doesn't need to be to get DJ Moore involved. What happens with the emergence here of what we've seen from Terrace Marshall in the offseason, to put him on the outside with Robbie Anderson, and then you put DJ Moore in the slot? DJ Moore will absolutely annihilate the slot. Look what Jamison Crowder did in New York with Sam Darnold. He flourished in the slot. There's so many opportunities in this offense, but it's just so unknown because we don't know what it's going to look like because we haven't seen it yet. Because we haven't seen it and what we do have a track record of, I'm willing to take that risk at some point in the draft. Do I want DJ Moore to be my wide receiver 1? No, probably not. Am I cool if he's my number 2? Yeah, because there's so much depth at the position. I can get a few more guys later in case DJ Moore doesn't exactly pan out how we want him to. I have options on my bench, so I'm not just going to cross him off and say he's trash truck juice. All right, next one. Let's move on to another wide receiver. Man, this guy. I don't know. I mean, this guy is so hated. It's Juju Smith-Schuster of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Everybody hates Juju. And I have a feeling, even though people won't come out and admit it's because he's having fun out there on the field, right? Now, do I love all the TikTok dancing and stuff? No, I don't. But when it comes to on the field, Juju does not suck, even though we got guys that say Juju is a bum from a Steelers fan. Okay. Juju sucks. Probably said that from your couch, I'm sure, at one point while he's out there playing professional football. I don't like Juju because he's not that good. Deontay will outproduce him by a clear margin this year. That's funny. Juju outproduced Deontay last year. Juju is a bum. Terrible advice. Would've, could've, should've for Juju doesn't add up. Only back in Pittsburgh because literally no other team wanted him. But you say draft him. I can't get behind that. So those are nothing but half-ass opinions all over the place that basically mean nothing. You really think the only team that wanted Juju was the Pittsburgh Steelers? Come on. No, that is by far a false claim. He went back to Pittsburgh because he wanted to go back to Pittsburgh. Could he have gone somewhere, made less money? Sure. I'm sure there was other teams. That's not what he wanted. He wanted to stay with his friends there. Big Ben probably doesn't have a whole lot of time left in his career, but to say that's the only team, false. What else did you say in there? The would've, could've, should've? You say that for everybody in fantasy football every single year. Still not a bum. Juju is awful. Gets no separation and can't catch contested balls. Deontay Johnson, which I'm guessing what he's saying, DJ, is riskier, but way more upside in the weeks he plays. So you've even said right there in the weeks he plays. So you know he's not even going to play all the weeks because he's got injury concerns himself. He can't catch contested balls. Okay, we're going to address that in a second. Juju is awful and gets no separation. Not everything is about separation. He's racking up volume. And if you play in PPR leagues, a catch is a point, no matter how you look at it, or a half a point, doesn't really matter. Now, do we want him to get big yardage? Yeah. But we've also seen in multiple times throughout his career of him getting like 97-yard receptions. He's got the speed to do it. It's just not what he's being asked to do in the offense because they now have Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson. So where those guys are more big play dependent, your safer option in the underneath shorter routes that's going to rack up targets and receptions is Juju. So let's look at this here. He finished wide receiver 18 last year. I thought we liked top 20 wide receivers, but he's a bum. How do you be a bum if you're finishing inside the top 18? I don't see how that's possible. He's had at least 128 targets, 91 receptions, 831 yards, and 7 touchdowns in seasons in which he's played at least 13 games. Cool. That's not bad numbers for where you're drafting Juju. He was top 5 in the NFL in red zone targets with 19. And we talked about the guy can't make any contested catches. Now, I don't know if y'all have watched the NFL lately, but very few times are catches not contested. More times than not, there's contested catches, right? Yet Juju had 0 drops in 2020. 0, which means pretty good hands, right? All those targets, all those receptions, no drops. And I'm sure at points, because he's not running deep down the field, he's right there across the middle. He's got multiple defenders to deal with, whether it's a linebacker falling back in coverage or a nickelback covering him in the slot. The guy led the league in slot snaps with 711 of them. He's going to have opportunities to move the chains. No, he's not that big, sexy, deep threat that you all want him to be, but he is still a reliable underneath wide receiver that's going to rack up receptions. So I just don't understand the hate when it comes to Juju. But it's fun to go through these. I'm just busting people's balls in the comments as we're going through these things. But the main purpose of this show, once again, is not to say, hey, I love these guys, you guys hate them, you're wrong. That's not the purpose of this show. I understand that every single year in fantasy football, people bring in some type of bias to it, right? That guy burned me last year. I just don't like this guy, or he's a bum, or he sucks, or he's overrated. But when you really look at the numbers, if you really want to start contending and winning more fantasy football championships, you have to put that bias aside and look at the actual facts behind the player. Do not overvalue a player yourself, because then more times than not, maybe you're going to be disappointed. Take a player for what they're worth. If the value is good for what you could potentially get on draft day, the risk is minimal, right? Because you know what you're expecting going in there. If you draft Juju in the 6th, 7th round, whatever it is right now, and you're expecting top 12 wide receiver performance, that's on you, because that's not where he's being drafted at. That's not what I'm expecting from him. I'm expecting him to be a bye-week fill-in, a 3rd wide receiver on my team, somebody who I can put in a pinch and an injury that could rack up some receptions, give me that safe floor on a weekly basis. There's just things like that we have to look at as we're going through drafts. Don't cross a player's name off based off of name bias, personal bias, whatever it is. Everybody has value, and that's the purpose of this show. Remember, hit that like button, because we're giving away the Austin Ekeler autographed jersey there from Pristine Auction. Leave that comment down below. I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys down there. Who else do you hate? Who else do you just not like in fantasy football? And we all have our names, right? But we got to be careful with how we treat them going into the draft season. Hit that like button. Consider subscribing to the channel, right? We're covering all things football here all year long. We've been doing daily videos for like 5 months now, it feels like. The content's starting to get a little bit dry, right? We're waiting for that regular season. It's right around the corner. We got some live shows coming up on Saturday night, so make sure you mark your calendars for that. But hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later.